I would like to call the Tuesday, December 10th, 2013 County Board meeting to order. While everybody's taking their seats, I'd like to thank all of our guests for coming today, all of our board members. We have a lot on the agenda. I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Allen.
Present.
Auger.
Here.
Barrio.
Here.
Castro. Davis.
Here.
Donahue.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Braz.
Here.
Gilliam.
Here.
Heyman. Here. Bolshite.
Here.
Kenyon. Kazarek.
Here.
Lash.
Here.
Lewis.
Here.
Molina. Pollock.
Here.
Jeffro.
Here.
Silva.
Here.
Smith. Here. Sterrett. Taylor.
Here.
Vasquez.
Here.
Winicki.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Can we have a quorum? I would like to ask Paul Holcomb, who we're going to be talking some more about later on in the early part of the program, but I'd like Paul to come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda, I'd like to ask the Reverend Teresa Strimlaw to come forward. Reverend represents In His Precious Name Ministries. She's going to lead us in prayer, and please rise.
Good morning, Chairman Lawson, board members, all visitors here today. Thank you for having me here. There's just something I'd like to share with you quickly that I thought you would find of interest. Yesterday, I had the opportunity of attending the 25th Annual Kane County Legislative Forum. And after listening to many of the key speakers of the organizations, the senior organizations here in Kane County, they had nothing but appreciation for what this county is doing in their support. So I thank you for myself and for them. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come here before you this morning with grateful hearts and open minds, wanting to walk out the plan that you have for us this day. I ask that you be with each person representing this board as they work to complete all necessary requirements still unfinished, ending this year in the best order. Let nothing be neglected which needs to be accomplished. Guide each person by your wisdom and with your strength, and may they be encouraged by a job well done. Lord, I ask that there would be a time of restoration as well as peace and joy as we celebrate this holiday season. May it be a time of generosity as well as a time of celebration. I pray the Christmas spirit would be demonstrated throughout this entire county, sharing with those in need, building strong relationships, and reinforcing a firm foundation. Help us to come together as a caring community, continuing to work together to be an effective body by taking on the challenges ahead and surpassing our goals. Certainly, this is not impossible with your help. Lord, I pray for each family represented here today. I pray every need, whether physical, financial, emotional, or spiritual, will be met. I know that nothing is impossible with you if we ask. I also know that you do answer prayers by how you have personally blessed me. You are not a respecter of persons, so what you have done for me, you will certainly do for others. My greatest desire is that they would come to know you in a personal way and they would experience a relationship with you firsthand. Father, I would like to end our prayer by praying for our nation. Please be with our leaders as they continue to face extraordinary challenges. I pray that your wisdom, discernment, knowledge, and understanding would be exercised and that your light would shine brightly as you continue to protect our land. May the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, guard our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And may you be blessed abundantly this Christmas season and with restoration for the coming year, that all things will be done. I thank you for this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Next on the agenda, approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the November 12, 2013? Ms. Lesh, second by Ms. Allen. Any thoughts, comments, amendments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay. The first presentation today is Resolution 13360 in appreciation of Paul Holcomb. First of all, let me ask for a motion and a second. So moved by Mr. Ford, second by Mr. Fraz. And let's see. Be sure to remind me after we get finished with a couple of speeches here that we'll actually pass this resolution too. So, Paul, would you come forward, please, also with Carl Shadle, our chief engineer. I have that. First of all, I'll try to speak loudly enough, but I'm going to first give you the microphone, Carl, so that it picks it up in the minutes. Paul, I would like to congratulate you on behalf of 500,000 people in Kane County for 4 years of service. And we have a plaque, a certificate of recognition. But before we go into that, I'd like Carl Shadle, our wonderful chief engineer, to say a few words about your background. 40 years, 4 decades, wonderful service.
Okay, well, as we read the resolution, I think you'll hear a lot about Paul's career. It's hard to put into words. I think those of you that have lived around Kane County for 4 decades know that Randall Road was a 2-lane country road when Paul started. The resolution indicates Paul started as a full-time employee in 1975, which is true, but he also was summer help for us starting in 1973. So it really does go back 4 decades. He's kind of become like part of the furniture, you know? And while in some ways I'm looking forward to new furniture, I know that the new furniture is not going to be as comfortable or made as well. And personally, I'd just like to thank Paul for his 4 decades of service.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you. There are only a couple of pieces of the certificate of recognition that I'm going to read off, but then I'd like to turn it over to Paul, and he can give us the entire history, the Tolstoy version.
That's going to take a couple hours.
Right. So, whereas Paul Holcomb will retire on December 31st, 2013 after an admirable career with Kane County Division of Transportation that has spanned more than 40 years, and whereas during the time he has worked under 4 superintendents of highways, county engineers, originally being hired as a Civil Engineer 1 for Kane County Highway Department, he advanced through the ranks, became a licensed professional land surveyor, and is retiring as a Chief of Design responsible for all the division's functions related to highway engineering. And whereas the Kane County Board and the citizens of Kane County appreciate Paul Holcomb's invaluable service, dedication, and effective leadership for the past 40 years, now therefore on this 10th day of December 2013, that the Kane County Board extends its deep appreciation to Paul Holcomb for his dedicated and commendable service to the motoring public of Kane County, and best wishes to Paul for a relaxing, enjoyable, and equally rewarding retirement. So thank you, Paul. Let me turn this over to you. Thank you.
Let's see if I can get this. Okay, testing 1, 2, 3, I guess I'm good. Well, I'm not exactly a public speaker, but I'll try to make this short. I know you've got a big agenda to go through, so it's hard to put together 40 years in such a short time frame, but I'll try. First of all, I want to thank the county board for this letter of appreciation, and Carl Shadle, my boss, and key staff for putting the contents of this together, so thank you for that. It's amazing how 40 years has gone by so fast, and I think a lot of it has to do with the passion for the job and the colleagues that I work with, both past and present. Key staff currently, probably the best that I've ever worked with. It's over 40 years. We talk about, Stearns Road is like the showcase of the county, but I look at projects like going from on Randall Road, Kirk Road, Fabian Parkway, Orchard Road, which I had a hand in. I consider those the backbone of the county, and it gets people to their places of destination as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. So I'm very proud of that kind of work. And I think in the future, I'm leaving the county, but it's definitely in capable hands. We have a great staff here, so I appreciate it. I don't think I have anything else to say, otherwise I'm going to ramble on. So thank you once again, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Celeste just mentioned to me that we'll take a roll call now on the resolution. So thank you, Celeste. So the clerk will call the roll.
Allen. Auger. Guerrero.
Stepped away.
Excuse me. Castro, absent. Davis.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Froz.
Yes.
Gillian.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
O'Shea.
Yes.
Korzarek.
Yes.
Lash.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina. Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffrel.
Yes.
Silva. Smith.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Winnicki.
Yes.
The resolution passes unanimously. Again, thank you very much, Paul. As far as today's chairman's short program, I'm going to reserve that time for later in the agenda. I have a few slides, and we'll conserve time now. As far as speakers on agenda items, I believe that we have John Cavalunas has signed up regarding ComEd Grand Prairie Gateway. So, John, would you come forward, please?
That's not an agenda.
Okay, do we have John in the audience? Okay, so not today. All right, next on the agenda, we have zoning petitions. I'd like to ask Mr. Donahue to present and make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have two zoning petitions this morning. The first one is 4306 by Andrew and Gail Froz. It's a request for a 4-year interim special use for an existing residential site work business located on the east side of Brundage Road, about a half-mile north of Kesslinger in Blackberry Township. The staff recommendation was for approval. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval, and the Development Committee also recommended approval, and therefore I will make a motion to approve petition 4306.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Donahue, second by Ms. Wonicky. Any thoughts?
I would note that there are two speakers here. Mr. Williams is the attorney for the petitioner, and Drew Froz, the petitioner, are both here, but I believe they are only here if there are any questions.
All right. Are there any questions for the petitioners? Mr. Vasquez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This question is for Drew. Drew, if you can just kind of, I wasn't at the meetings, kind of busy, just fill me in as to what are the circumstances as to why you need the extension. I know that 4 years ago we granted a similar scenario for you because of what was going on with the economy. And I know that the property is non-conforming, so just want to know what the circumstances are that requested this.
Yeah, we originally obtained zoning in the 1983-84 time period. This was farmland. I live on the property, and we had a landscaping business, still have that business, it's still active. We've been there 30 years without complaint from a neighbor of any type. We had, again, landscape zoning under the F2 usage. This allowed for storage and repair of trucks, equipment, materials, and so forth for the landscape business. Over time, our business has evolved to a point where we're doing more excavating work. In 2008, right after the time I was elected to the county board, a complaint was filed from outside the area by a union official, and that brought forth the concern, and at that time we asked for and obtained an interim special use, which brings your zoning up to par as long as you didn't have any blatant complaints or issues going on. We asked for 7 years at that time because we could see the storm clouds of the economy kind of rolling in. We were granted 4.5. Our business went down to virtually 0 the following year, so we're still trying to climb out of that hole. So I'm asking for an extension of our current 4.5-year interim special use to build a new building elsewhere and move out. We have never asked to do anything but that. We just need some time to do it. Coincidentally, just a few months after my zoning issue came before the board, an identical situation came up that actually didn't even have the landscape zoning, and they were allowed to stay and expand their business and stay perpetually where they're at. So I think we have a very good case here for doing what we're doing. I do have offers pending on several pieces of property, and nobody wants to move out of there more than I do. So that's the situation.
Does that answer the question, Mr. Vasquez?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Yes, Allen?
Aye.
Alder?
Yes.
Barrio?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Donahue?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Fries abstains. Gilliam?
Yes.
Heyman?
Yes.
Holscheit?
Yes.
Kazaric?
Yes.
Lash?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Pollock? Sheffalo?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Winicki?
Yes.
The resolution passes, or the petition passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Fraz and Mr. Williams. Next, Mr. Donahue.
Thank you. Next petition is 4307 by Carrie Guerra. It's a petition for a special use for a dog kennel located on the west side of Harder Road, 500 feet north of Finley Road in Sugar Grove Township. The staff did recommend approval with this with the stipulation to dedicate 45 feet of right-of-way along Harder Road. The Zoning Board of Appeals also recommended approval subject to the KDOT stipulation for the right-of-way. And the Development Committee this morning considered the petition and recommended unanimously approval of this petition with the stipulation for dedication of the 45 feet of right-of-way. So with that, I'll move approval of petition 4307.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Donahue, second by Ms. Taylor.
I'd also note that representatives from the petitioner are here, Lionel and Carrie Guerra, and I believe Joseph Wisniewski, and I also believe they're here only to answer questions.
Okay, are there any questions? Mr. Fraz?
Yeah, this site is right on the border of Melissa's district and mine. As a matter of fact, we don't know whose it's in, but we both support it entirely. It's just about an ideal scenario for this type of business.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? If not, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, call the roll.
Allen? Alder?
Yes.
Barrio?
Yes.
Davis? Donahue?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Fries?
Yes.
Gilliam?
Yes.
Heyman?
Yes.
Holscheit? Yes. Kazaric?
Yes.
Lash?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Pollock? Sheffalo?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Smith?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Winicki?
Yes.
So the motion and second passes unanimously. Any other business, Mr. Donahue? Okay, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is resolutions and ordinances, the consent agenda. I'd like to ask if anyone would like to remove an item from the agenda, from that consent agenda. Miss Allen? Okay, number 13362. Mr. Ford?
Chairman, 13361.
Okay, number 13361. Any others? Okay, if not, let's see. May I have a motion to pass the consent agenda with those exceptions? Mr. Hoshite, so moved, second by Ms. Wonicky. Any thoughts, comments? Okay, if not, the clerk will call the roll.
Ellen.
Aye.
Auger.
Yes.
Barrio.
Yes.
Davis. Donahue. Ford.
Yes.
Fries. Gillum.
Yes.
Hayman.
Yes.
Bolsheit.
Yes.
Kazarick.
Yes.
Lash. Lewis.
Yes.
Molina. Pollock. Sheffro. Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Taylor. Vasquez.
Yes.
Winicky.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Mr. Ford, on number 13361.
First, make the motion to move this.
Okay, Mr. Ford makes a motion to move, seconded by Ms. Allen. Thoughts and comments?
Yes, I just like to say, with all the little bit of controversy with this, because it's something new, and this is what I say what we do, to reach out into thinking outside the box. If the way things look right now, we are expected to save about $193,000 for 2014 because of this right here. So I just want to congratulate everybody on supporting this.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments, questions? If not, we have a motion and second. Would the clerk call the roll?
Ellen. Auger.
Yes.
Barrio.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Donahue. Ford.
Yes.
Fries. Yes. Gillum.
Yes.
Hayman.
Yes.
Bolsheit.
Yes.
Kazarick.
Yes.
Lash. Lewis.
Yes.
Molina. Pollock. Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith. Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Winicky.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Number 13362, Ms. Allen?
I'll happily move that. And what I wanted to say was that this has been around the county. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Sorry, let's see. So we have a motion, Ms. Allen, second by Mr. Smith.
Good.
If you'd like to lay it out.
This has been around a long time, even before our Agriculture Committee, and I just wanted to speak to it because, in a way, a farmer's land is his 401k, and you certainly can't blame any farmer who wants to sell his land to developers in order to maximize his profit on his land. But we have a very active farmland preservation program in this county, trying to say how much we value our agricultural lands and that we want to keep them intact forever. And these folks reinvented the wheel using the county's development department. It's just such a clever thing to do. I wanted to mention it so that people would know about it. They took this land and they developed some of it for homes and encouraged people to bring their horses because they have a barn for a stable. And with their land, they will raise the crops that feed those animals and garden for the people who live there and possibly for the rest of us who could come and shop for produce there. And then, on top of all of that good deed doing, they wanted to donate a preservation easement to the county. Normally we pay per acre to get those development rights, and here is a donation coming from the owners themselves. I just think this is, the planet's all aligned and you couldn't ask for something to come out better, and congratulations to the Development Department, for the committee and department for putting it through, and for these people being so selfless in their interest in not only making money for themselves, but also in protecting this land for all of us.
Thank you very much, Ms. Allen. You know, I think that inadvertently I made I had an oversight at Executive Committee. If I'm not mistaken, perhaps the people who own this property and were giving this gift to the people of Kane County, they may have been in the audience. By any chance, are they in the audience today so that we could recognize them and thank them for their gift to the county? No? Okay, well, if the appropriate people will pass along my apology for, I didn't realize that they were there, but after this was handled, there were two people who had left the meeting, and I thought I might have missed that. So my apologies to them, but if you'd pass it along. Mr. Smith?
Chairman of Agriculture, I think I should add that this is non-traditional agriculture. This is an innovative plan. It is the first of its kind, and I'm happy to say the first of its kind is occurring in Cook County. And down the road, this may become a model for future type of developments.
Okay, thank you. Other thoughts? If not, we have a motion second. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ellen. Auger.
Yes.
Burial.
Yes.
Davis. Donahue. Ford.
Yes.
Fries.
Yes.
Gillum.
Yes.
Hyman.
Yes.
Oshite.
Yes.
Kazarick.
Yes.
Lash.
Yes.
Lewis. Yes. Molina. Pollock. Yes. Shefflo.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Winnicki.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, so that takes care of the items that were originally on the consent agenda. I would also like to recognize the work that's been done by the chairman of the Energy Environment Committee, Mr. Kozarek, as well as the members of the Energy Environment Committee, all the staff members and other board members and constituents who've been involved in the electrical aggregation campaign that will go onto the March ballot. And I don't know if there's anything that, Mr. Kozarek, this is one more example of the elected officials serving 500,000 people in Kane County, helping people save money. So, Mr. Kozarek, is there anything that you would like to add? We appreciate the work that you and your team have done.
Well, I appreciate the nice compliments. We're just going to leave it up to the voters, and we'll do everything we can to educate them on the issue.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we have number 13395, authorizing contracts for snow removal maintenance service for the 2014 and 15 seasons. May I have a motion to pass that? So moved by Mr. Ford, second by Mr. Fraz. Let's see. So, any thoughts, comments, or questions? Ms. Taylor?
I have a couple questions and a few concerns with this resolution. I'm going to gear the questions to our purchasing director, Mr. Rossman, because I think he might be able to answer a good chunk of these. One thing I noticed was this resolution changed into two different contractors. And I had asked at the prior meeting at executive, has this ever happened with any of the contracts through the county at this point regarding plowing where we do a half and half?
Regarding plowing, no. This is the first time for snow plowing.
Okay, and the reasoning behind doing it?
We had a vendor who submitted for a portion of the contract, that would be the Judicial Center, North Campus, and Animal Control. And based on that, we looked at possibly splitting the work between two vendors. And splitting the work between two vendors would provide an additional $14,000 savings if we gave it to one vendor.
Okay. And then I brought this up earlier. I'm questioning the process of how we chose these two, and that partially answered it. Is it typical, I'm trying to find out the outcome for the references, because if I remember right, one of the contractors in this particular resolution is the same contractor that in 2012, Kane County had a contract with Mill Creek, if I remember correctly, and Kane County had we were receiving complaints, and we were attempting to, or the board was being asked to terminate that contract partway through the completion of it, and it ended up going to board, if I remember right, and it was a contentious meeting, if I remember right, and it voted to let him finish out the contract. Currently, he does not have that contract that company does not have the Mill Creek contract now, correct?
The company that you're referring to does not have the contract currently for Mill Creek SSA. Last year, John Lockbaum, the manager of the Mill Creek SSA, went out and solicited 3 quotations because the work was under $30,000, so it didn't have to be formally solicited for public bids. John had some reservations about that particular contractor, so we moved forward with somebody else instead of extending the contract that he previously had. That contractor protested, and that's why it came to the admin committee, because he protested the selection of another contractor.
And if I remember right, that allowed the first contractor, he continued out the contract. Is that correct?
Well, his contract was then extended.
Right, it was a 3-year contract?
Yes, it was extended then for a 3rd year.
Okay. But from the get-go, it was a 3-year contract, and then this situation arose at year number 2, right?
It initially was a 1-year contract with 2 option years, so it's the county's decision to decide if they want to extend for an additional 1 year. And at that time, staff was considering not to extend.
This is the same contractor that we're now attempting to do a resolution to receive additional plowing elsewhere within the county.
Staff considered that. We looked back and talked to John Lockbaum. This vendor did an acceptable job last year. There were no complaints. So he had the contract then for 3 years. So based on last year's performance, he was acceptable.
Okay, when references come in on an RFP, how many references do you ask for?
This was a bid. We asked for 4.
You asked for 4 references, and were those references checked?
Yes, plus an additional 3 from previous bids. And all 7 came back acceptable.
All 7 came back acceptable?
All 7.
And was one of those references a subdivision, similar subdivision that's down by myself?
Yes.
And that came back acceptable?
This contractor is providing services this year for that subdivision.
So did the references come back acceptable from that subdivision?
I think that question's been asked and answered, I think, twice. Would you like to answer it a 3rd time?
It was acceptable.
Okay.
Wow, then that's acceptable. Well, I would just like to let you know that that is not the case, and that subdivision is not satisfied. And you and I have had this conversation, and they know it. They told us that. Therefore, it was a subdivision that was not satisfactory work with what's happening in that subdivision.
So perhaps outside of a monthly board meeting, this question about, let's see, the reference was checked. First of all, just for the record, what is the name of the subdivision?
Pressbury.
So Pressbury was checked, and they gave an acceptable reference for this contractor.
They are currently using this contractor.
Currently using, and did they receive an acceptable reference?
They didn't have anything to make us decide that he was on an acceptable contract.
In listening, okay, let's see. This type of work is typically done staff level and then in the standing committee level. However, I think that any board member has the authority to go ahead and ask any questions that they want. I think that what you're asking, Ms. Taylor, if I have it right, is that you asked, have the references been checked? And the answer was yes, they were checked and they were all acceptable. Now, in insisting on that point, asking the question again, I'm hearing that, well, we didn't hear anything to the contrary. I think that the question was, were the references checked, and did they come back all? I think that you mentioned 7 of those. Is that?
Yes.
Were they all checked, and all 7, and that would include Pressbury? They were checked, and they gave back a reference saying that it was acceptable. Is that correct?
Yes. Currently, they have the contractors providing them services.
Now, the fact, I'm so sorry to be, but I think that following the thought of Ms. Taylor, she's asking the question, were the references checked? And you're saying yes, and then I think that you're saying that, well, we didn't hear anything to the contrary, which isn't exactly the same as saying the reference came back acceptable. Did the reference come back acceptable?
Yes,
Okay.
From Pressberry.
correct.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. And I'm sorry to have, but I just wanted to get a clarification. Any other questions, Ms. Taylor?
I have a comment, actually.
All right.
Pressberry was in a 3-year contract with this particular plow company. This is they're partway through. They decided that it was unacceptable work was what was happening. Therefore, they had attempted to end the contract mid-term, and for a board decision that they had, they chose to extend it to the end of the contract for the additional year, which is this year. However, going forward after this year, they are not reusing this contractor. They are choosing to, they've already done it, to get in a different contractor. So as for it being an acceptable reference, I'm trying to figure out how that happened.
Okay. Thank you very much. And outside of this meeting, we'll pursue it in greater detail. Ms. Lesh?
I think what I'm hearing is, yes, they've been checked and they're acceptable, excuse me, but what is acceptable to you may be acceptable, that's not acceptable to me, or vice versa. I guess I would ask, does this contractor have any strikes against them or anything pending? I guess as Commissioner Taylor was just informing us that, I guess in Sugar Grove and her township area that they're not looking to renew. So, I mean, have there been complaints in the past of anyone? Has there been any strikes, against any of them?
From outside references, I don't know if there were any complaints, but I do know that when he was at Mill Creek SSA, going back 3 years, there were issues. The work is subjective on what should be done and how well it should be done, but you have to communicate with that vendor, and he seemed to have been willing 3 years ago when it was under Mark Van Kerkhoff, when there were some issues. He comes out and he resolves them. Last year he was acceptable. I hear anything from fine, satisfactory, to acceptable, to what kind of work he's able to perform. We looked at the 4 references he provided, went back and found additional 3. We interviewed him, and he provided a written plan on how he's going to handle the snow services here. Building management went out and inspected his equipment. He's got ample equipment. He had an acceptable plan on how he's going to be handling the services. We didn't find him to be a non-responsible vendor.
Okay, I think, I don't want to say that maybe my level is more up here, I guess, but I don't think I'm satisfied hearing something is satisfied or something is acceptable, especially when they're representing the county. That I guess I would like to hear more something being exceptional, that it was outstanding work and that they followed through instead of everything just being copacetic and acceptable. Especially when we're representing the county and things like that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Lesh. Mr. Smith?
Yes, Mr. Russman. I'd like to know how we're saving $14,000 by using 2 contractors instead of 1. If that's the case, maybe we should cut all our contracts in half.
How did it work out that we saved $14,000?
Instead of issuing it to 1 contractor, we were able to split it between 2 vendors. The 1 vendor will be getting the Judicial Center, the North Campus, and Animal Control, and based on him just getting that, and the other vendor getting Government Complex, 3rd Street Courthouse, the Fabian and Aurora locations, splitting it between 2 would reduce it by $14,000 instead of giving it to 1 particular vendor.
So the bids came in that much less? That's the savings of $14,000?
Well, the apparent low vendor, if we were to give half of it to another vendor who only bid on those 3 locations, we would be able to obtain a $14,000 savings from giving it just to 1 vendor.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other thoughts? Chairman of Administration, Mr. Ford?
Yes, I just to try to verify the savings. When the bids went out, they were more individual per parking lot, I believe.
Yes.
And because of that, when you add them all up together, and the 1 vendor who was a low bidder for one set of parking lots was high on the other set, and the other guy came in low on the, I believe, on the smaller set, on the smaller parking lot. So that's how we was able to make the savings. So I believe by splitting it, we also, on time, will save what we contract. Instead of one contractor trying to stretch his staff out, what usually happens is they subcontract it out. I think this way we got a better chance of getting more of a quality performance out of two contractors than stretching one contractor. Because if we get a big snowstorm like we had a couple years ago, the only thing that's going to happen is he's going to subcontract the work out, and he has the right to do that. This way, I think it'll stay more into a size of work that one contractor can handle. Again, this to me, it's out of the ordinary. We're kind of stepping outside the box, and I believe we should give it a chance to work and see what happens.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ford. Other comments, questions? Mr. Kozarek?
Yeah, I guess I just want to follow up on something Ms. Taylor had said. The firm I work for is actually the managing agent for Pressbury, so I'm a little familiar with the situation. And I did want to say that we didn't give, or Pressbury did not give a negative opinion of the agent for legality purposes, but they are not renewing. So that is a very clear thing I want to make sure everybody understands. They weren't bad-mouthing the firm in any way. They just simply chose not to renew their partnership. That being said, having dealt with homeowners on these types of issues, cheapest isn't always the best option. $14,000, it's a lot of money. I want to help try to save money where we can for the county. But when we're sacrificing service for a vendor, and I'm not necessarily bad-mouthing any in particular, but just to kind of keep it in mind and for a global, snow removal and those types of issues really get people upset when their homes are not plowed, when they're not able to access their public service areas. So I guess I would just caution everyone to really keep that in mind when you vote on this issue. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kozarek. Any other questions, comments? Before Ms. Taylor, second time, Mr. Vasquez?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, that resolution that we looked at was back in May of 2012, where he was granted $100,000, and that was after we complained about the mowing services that he was providing. So that's what I think what you were referring to, Melissa.
Say that again?
Resolution was passed in June of 2012, and it was $100,000. And that was after, we extended that after we had gotten a lot of complaints about his mowing service. Countywide landscaping, is that what you're referring to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was a plowing issue. There's two different pieces to that. There's the landscaping portion, and then there's a plowing portion. The plowing portion, if you backtrack a couple months before that, you'll see that that was a discussion that happened in this room.
It happened in development.
Pardon me?
It happened in development.
And in that discussion, we were talking about the plowing.
All right, other comments, and again, of course, we want to have enough information for a board to make a proper decision. But any other comments before we go back to Ms. Taylor for a second? If not, Mr. Fraz?
Really quickly, I understand Ms. Taylor's concerns. As an individual or as a business, you can pick and choose wherever you want, whenever you want. We're a public body. We have to have a very compelling reason to reject a little bit. There are some concerns here, but I think we also have to weigh that against the possibility of the challenge and the cost of that.
So one of the people involved, one of the suppliers involved was the low bidder. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, and then Ms. Taylor? Excuse me, Mr. Pollack?
Roz, if you could expound on that. You said we can run some risks with a challenge. Would you care to explain to the rest of us that maybe haven't been through this?
Anybody who bids on county work, if their bid is rejected in favor of the second lowest bid, has the right to challenge that, either before the board or the court. So I think we have to have, just like anything we do, we have to have a very compelling reason to reject the bid and weigh that against the possibility of the cost of litigation.
I understand. Is prior poor work? If we've heard that there were complaints when they served us before, is that a justification? I'm not saying we're doing it, but is that something that would be considered a reasonable reason to deny?
I think it is, although this dates back a couple of generations of contracts. They've since performed at least adequately is the word I'll use. Mill Creek's in my district. I lived through all that. But at this point, I'm not going to vote on this.
Okay. Mr. Davis?
Since there seems to be a cloud over this particular one, I'm curious, what kind of language do we have for terminating this contract should we get complaints that we're hearing might be coming?
Well, first off, it's going to be hard to replace a contractor, particularly a snowplower in mid-season, because they're going to be stockpiling whatever salt they're going to be needing for the contracts that they have. It's going to be due diligence on building management to oversee and supervise and make sure that they're communicating and documenting with this contractor anything that's inadequate.
Is there language that allows for termination? I understand that it's a difficult thing to replace, but what does the language say about if we had to, how quickly could you sever this tie and move to the next one?
The contractor does have a certain time to satisfy the contract, to fix anything that's inadequate. So we need to work with the vendor and give them ample time to rectify any poorly done services.
All right, thank you very much. And finally, Ms. Taylor? Oh, Ms. Allen?
You know, we have this, I don't know if this is accurate here, but we have this kind of thing in the Forest Preserve where we will ask vendors to give us a bid on demolishing structures, and we frequently choose different vendors because we get the low price on demolishing a structure or paving some of the parking lots or something. Is that not a comparable situation where we're just asking to get the best price we can? And in this case, we divided the responsibilities into two parts.
Let's see. I guess that would be to you, Chris. Could you focus the question a little bit, Ms. Allen? Let's see. We're asking.
We're hoping for a more efficient plowing of our properties by dividing it into two parts, where one vendor does a certain area and the other vendor does another area.
Correct.
And so our concern here is that one of the vendors will not be able to do the job as well as he should. That's our concern.
Okay, so I guess that's really a question for Ms. Taylor. So, Ms. Taylor, is that your concern?
That's one of my one of my concerns, and the two comments that I have. Initially, when this, a couple years ago when this came forward, staff was the ones that brought it to us that there was a concern with an element of deficiency that was happening. And staff brought that to us, keep that in mind. Not only, I mean, many staff, if I remember right, I think it was this whole row over here that was staff supporting that we needed to end that contract, number one. Number two is we were asked by staff to end the contract then, and now we're being asked by staff to support the contract for the same vendor today. So, in my opinion, I hope I answered your question, but I'm a no vote on this today.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Taylor. Any other final thoughts?
Yep.
Mr. Shefflow.
Just to the division, I think we have seen it in other areas. I think in heating, HVAC contracting services, the county has it divided. I think it's good to divide in some cases, or not all, but many cases. Gives smaller contractors the ability to bid, come in at lower prices. This also will give us an excellent chance to see which contractor is doing the best job. So if you can compare one against the other, if Countrywide doesn't perform, I don't know anything about them, we don't have to extend. So it's just a one-year snow removal contract. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Shefflow. And I'd like to, unless there's a real huge objection, I'd like to call the question. But Mr. Smith, did you have a final thought? And then we're going to call the question.
As far as Drew's statement that we may suffer legal repercussions because of this, I would like to know if staff enumerated all the complaints that Melissa says came in. Are those down in black and white that we did receive all those complaints?
Do we have a log of complaints is the question.
That's going back, I think, to 2011, and it was based on a landscaping contract, not the snow plowing. Based on the landscaping, they didn't want to move forward with the snow plowing contract, based on the services for the landscaping.
Okay. Does that answer the question? And then, okay.
Point of information, Chairman Lawson.
All right.
Dr.
Dr. Silva?
A 1 year or 2 year? I wasn't sure. It's 2 year.
2
It is
years.
a 2 year. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Vasquez?
Just one more comment and stuff. Drew, you mentioned that, we might have repercussion by not going with the lowest bidder. Well, we didn't have any repercussion, and we definitely went with not the lowest bidder on the insurance stuff, so.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, with that, okay, clarification. Last word goes to Ms. Taylor.
So you're
And then
saying
we'll call
right
the
now it's a
question.
2-year contract. What's the renewal? What is it in the contract for renewal?
One additional option year for a total of 3.
Great. And prior, when we had the contract, was it 1 year at that point, or was it the same layout where it was 2-year contract with one right? You said it was 1 year and then 1 year and 1 year.
I'd have to confirm, but it was a total of 3, but it was an extension of third year.
Right, so the first year was just a 1-year contract.
The previous, I'd have to check.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Donahue?
That bit of information changes things, so I appreciate you indulging additional comment. I've sat here listening to this. I was just going to stay on the sidelines. This whole Mill Creek issue came through Development Committee, and I was part of those discussions. And all this while, I thought this was a 1-year contract. And I do feel that there is ample evidence that in the past there have been problems. So my feeling was, well, 1-year contract, what's the harm? Next year, if the guy, it would be a third strike by next year if there was a problem, and then I think it would be over. But if this is 2 years with a 1-year option, I'm not going to support a 2-year contract for the countryside. If we want to change it to 1 year with a 1-year option, I'll support that, but I'm voting no on 2.
Okay, well, we have a motion. The resolution is in front of us. Let's see. Okay. Mr. Shefflow?
The executive summary says 2-year contract with 2 1-year potential renewals, which isn't much different from what you said, but is that correct?
I'd have to confirm that. I do believe the bid spec said a 2-year contract with 1 option year.
Yeah, so that would make it a 3-year contract.
Okay, Mr. Fraz?
The option to extend is our option.
Right.
Not the contract. So if he's not performing, we cannot not to do that. Now, that's worked very positively for the county in the past, as far as extending options on both lawn mowing and snow removal, where we had real positive success with the contractor. Our lawn mowing, for example, when that contract was originally left, we were very nervous about how low it was. They've been doing it for 3 years now. Service has been great. They held their pricing 3 years ago. But it's our option, not the contract.
Okay. Thank you very much for the discussion on this. Remember that this has gone through and passed the Standing Committee. Then I don't know if it's gone through Finance, but it did go through Executive and now to the Board, and I think that it's now time for us to vote. So I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Allen.
Aye.
Auger.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Burial.
No.
Dennis.
No.
Donahue.
No.
Ford.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
Gilliam.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
O'Shea.
Yes.
Kozeri.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Lash.
No.
Lewis.
No.
Molina.
No.
Pollock.
No.
Shefflow.
Yes.
Silva.
No.
Smith?
No.
Taylor?
No.
Vasquez? No. Winnicki?
Yes.
Fails.
The motion fails. So the chairman of the committee and the staff members will need to go back to the board to figure out next step from here.
Mr. Chairman?
Well, outside of the highest level of county government, we'll have the chairman of that committee and the staff go through that. This is not where we go through these pieces, and I appreciate the discussion and the votes. So the next item on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman? That's
Yes,
wrong.
Mr.
I mean, this
Vasquez?
board can't decide to make an amendment on any resolution.
I think that we've had the...
I'm just
the
saying,
vote.
you can't say that we can't have discussion here. We can have that discussion here.
Now, you
And we
know,
can't make-
Jesse, that is not what I said. I said we've just had an extensive discussion where several people talked several times, so I did not say we would not have conversation. I'm just saying that we've gone through a certain process. We've then had discussion at this level on a detailed contract, and then we need to go on with additional business. If there is a motion to amend, I mean, should that be...
Please.
Okay. Mr. Ford, let's see. Now, I heard some of the discussion that this went through development, but didn't it go through administration?
Yes. At this point, and I think one of the thoughts is to have this to a one-year contract. As of right now, these bids are based on the 2 years. If we change it to a 1 year, I believe we have to go out and rebid. We can't change this here now to 1 year and not go out to bid, because these bid numbers are based on a 2-year contract.
Okay. Mr. Hoshite?
Mr. Chairman, if this was a motion to approve 2 separate contracts and there was no objection to the other contract, would it be appropriate to separate those 2 out and approve the 1 separate contract?
Yes, we can.
That we can do.
Would you want to make that motion?
I would move that we do that if that bidder is acceptable. At least that component, I'm concerned about it snowing, so.
Well, that's exactly. I hope that
I'd like to
members
have
of the
that.
board were considering that.
Well, if we could separate the 2 out and make a motion to approve the contract for the, I don't have the name of the contractor here in front of me, but for MAC, that component, if we could move to accept that, if you would entertain that, I would move that.
All right. So moved by Mr. Hoshite. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Which contract?
Order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Ms. Molina.
From what I understand, Robert's rules, this resolution has failed. Therefore, in order to bring up another resolution, is that something that we can do here, is just bring up another resolution? Because you're pretty much recreating a resolution. You're not bringing up the resolution that failed, correct?
Amending.
You can't amend a resolution that failed, and the only one who can bring it up is someone who voted against it.
Okay. Mr. Donahue, I believe that you voted against it.
I do want to make a motion to reconsider the resolution with the recommendation to amend that resolution to include just the 1 bidder. That's the
Okay.
motion.
Second that.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Donahue, second by Mr. Hoshite?
Yes.
Okay.
The term was to reconsider, correct, under parliamentary
This is a vote to
procedure?
reconsider.
That's right, which you have
and
right.
then discussion on the proposed amendment on the original.
All right. So with that motion, second, Ms. Taylor?
My question is, right now, and Mr. Rossman, please tell me, the current plow contract is the company that, I don't know the name of it, it's got a W and what's that?
Waltzman.
Yeah, those guys. So if we separate that in half, will they still be doing the other half until we resolve this issue? Or does that sever the extension of their contract? That's what my concern is. On top of MAC, the writing is still the same, so that's still a 2-year contract. Just putting that out. Does that jeopardize?
That's why this is dangerous.
All right, right now, today, the current plow guy who does everything is in a contract that it will just continue to extend until we end it, correct? currently?
Currently, the current contract that expired in October, I believe, Waldschmidt is doing a month-to-month until a new contract is executed.
Correct.
But that is for all the properties.
Correct. And with that being said, if we do half of the contract to separate it out, will they still continue on a monthly basis to do the half?
I'd have to confirm that with the contractor.
This is too complicated.
Okay, Mr. Donahue?
Well, due to the fact that we have somebody actually plowing our snow in the interim, I would be willing to withdraw my motion to reconsider and ask this be sent back to committee and be resolved at the committee level and brought back next month.
I'll withdraw my second.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so we'll go back to the drawing board. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Next on the agenda, okay. Okay, next on the agenda is the number 13396, amending the 2013 fiscal year budget for the Kane County Coroner. May I have a motion? So moved by Mr. Hoshite, second by Ms. Wonicky. As far as discussion, Roger, would you put up the first slide? Just a quick presentation, several slides. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Cunningham for his good work and a whole host of other people who did a very good job in bringing everybody together. You know, our constituents put us in place during elections to get a job done, and their expectation is that we're all going to work together until they put other people into place. And so we're going to live up to that expectation. I remember do people recognize the name Paul Vallis? The fellow, he's a nominee for Lieutenant Governor, used to run Chicago Public Schools, New Orleans Public Schools, but I remember going into one of those meetings on endorsements. He was coming out, I was going in, there's a lineup of 10 people, and he's very excited. He had worked in appropriations in Springfield for like 20 years and just a brilliant guy. But he comes out, he goes, "Oh, Chris, wouldn't this be exciting?" I think maybe it was when he was running for governor against Rod Blagojevich. But won't this be exciting that we can work for 3.5 years, and then, you know, that last half year where there's a campaign, we'll, you know, beat each other's, you know, brains out. But, you know, for those 3.5 years, we you know, do a really good job working through it. I think that that's proper spirit. Things have changed in Kane County, where we're not going to argue through and we're not going to sue each other, and it's not going to cost the taxpayers $350,000. So really, I think that the perspective on this matter is that we really need to help the coroner. I mean, it's obvious that you know, a hard time is being experienced in that area with the new responsibilities, even after a year on the job. You know, the budget problem was hard enough, but now the indignities to human beings who have died, and we're going through the decomposing bodies. This is a very serious problem. We all need to help and get it solved. So as far as a framework to get that help delivered, this is working with the coroner and moving forward. There's 5 main pieces to it. First of all, Rob's letter, the main commitments. Number 2, a picture that shows the 3-year solution. Then number 3, state's attorney's opinion and board consensus. Then the most recent coroner publicity, and then a modest proposal to help. Could you put the next slide up, please? The most important piece of the correspondence between Rob and I is that the coroner's office has no issue with keeping our budget flat, and we will do everything within our power to keep that budget at $843,000 for the next 3 years, excluding union raises and unforeseeable state statutes. This includes reevaluating existing procedures and developing new procedures to keep the costs as low as possible. And then finally, the $843,000 fiscal years 14, 15, and 16 amounts will address our immediate concerns, and we'll look forward to working with you and the county board to bring the coroner's office up to a reasonable standard over the next 3-4 years and return it to a position of leadership. So I appreciate that. On the next slide then, There are three things as far as moving forward when it comes to an opinion about how do you go about paying the bills. Three categories broken into, number one, payroll. We make sure we make payroll. It's a cardinal rule in any of our businesses that you don't have a business if you don't meet payroll. Number two, and if you go to the next page, where the budget for, and the second area is autopsies. Where the budget for these expenses is exceeded, a review of the autopsies performed for compliance with state statute is authorized. So that'll be the second piece of moving forward and paying those bills. And then number three, other expenses category. The most important piece there is your office, so our office here is without authority to approve for payment the remaining invoices submitted by the coroner's office without a supplemental appropriation by the county board. I believe that there's not a person sitting around these tables or in the audience who doesn't pay their bills, and so we're going to pay our bills. That does take then the action that we're taking today as far as the next ordinance, or excuse me, the resolution. Then I believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words. I think that for many conversations, and I appreciate Ms. Wodnicki as chairman of the Judiciary Committee, the first proposal was basically the diagonal line from the southwest corner to the northeast corner from the 757 that the previous administration had put in place for the coroner to operate within, and then board approved, all the way to the July 26, 2013 Judiciary Committee proposal that was made by the coroner for $955,000. That's how many of us, including myself, were looking at, well, we want the coroner to be able to get to where he feels, having been elected by the people, that this is what it's going to take. However, we can't take that on all at once, and so over a period of time. A counter proposal, and one that I think that our county clerk, Jack Cunningham, brought forward and brought all parties together in the end, was that raise it up early on in the first year from the 757 to the 843, and then hold that flat, and that's reflected in the letter. So with the give and take, the beauty of the proposal is demonstrated by the give and take of that. It comes, the give and the take for that came to within 4.2% of each other proposals. So I don't know, Jack, if that was your genius control of the numbers, or... Okay. So that's basically a description of where we're going to go. We need to remember, and then we'll be keeping, the board will be providing the resources early, and we'll need then to have the coroner fulfill it in the long run. Next item. As far as the most recent coroner publicity, the decomposing bodies of human beings under the coroner's cares, at least the newspapers have used this to advance a budget position. Certainly, I don't think, again, we don't responsibly set budgets in newspapers. But the idea of the Sun-Times saying that the morgue freezer malfunction shows need of better facilities, that was the headline. Or the Daily Herald, the freezer spawns call for new morgue. In the end, that will be up to you to see if you want to allocate taxpayer funds. The quote in that was, "I'm not asking for the Taj Mahal. If the incident is taken as a black eye for the county, then let's fix the black eye. It's not about making the county look bad, it's about telling the truth. This office stinks." Then the Chronicle says, "The bodies had begun to liquefy, and the smell of decomposition began to overpower the office. Luckily, we caught it in time for us to take immediate action." Now, just my personal opinion, I don't think that that was a matter of being caught in time. I think that it was way too late when, as the quote says, bodies began to liquefy. The next slide. The context for this publicity is that there's been one full year which I believe that a board standard ought to be that 1 full year is enough time to do an equipment inventory and then to put in place preventive maintenance. It has been a practice at this level that, number 2, not 1 cent of funding has been denied, whether it's preventive maintenance rather than publicity, could be the primary focus, but not 1 penny that's been obligated has not been spent. Then, as many of you know who serve on the Finance Committee and other committees, there's $53,000 and $23,000, 2 separate pieces of appropriations that are set aside for freezer and refrigerator equipment in the 2014 capital budget. I believe that there would be obvious board support for moving those forward as soon as you'd be asked. I would think that the board would step forward and expedite those. I regret to say that notice of the decomposition was given to the Daily Herald, to the Chronicle, to the Sun-Time. That notice was not given to the chairman of the Judiciary or Finance Committees. The Finance Director did not receive it, and I did not receive it. $3,500 is important. I think it's way more important what occurred with these human beings' bodies. $3,500 is 4/10 of 1 cent of the coroner's budget. I believe that national attention over $3,500 repair, when it goes all the way to the Huffington Post, is not what Kane County would want to be known for. Then the final slide is just just a modest proposal of how I believe that we can move forward. I think that with this resolution, that we will pay every cent that has been obligated to. Again, I think that our constituents do not want us arguing and distracting them from their lives. They want us to get our work done. I think that everybody wants to get the work done. So in the process of moving forward, we should ask, as a board, the standard for the expectation should be that the coroner submits budget without the arithmetic errors that were in the first and in the final proposals that were made. That scheduling shifts, which is still, I believe you'll find, going to be a problem when you go through these, but that it should include the coroner with a pager. From the state's attorney's letter, the review of the autopsies, that we should have the state's attorney figure, well, what's the proper process, and then we'll just go about that process. I think that we should avoid in the future 40%, $19,000 unbudgeted raises. You all recognize that under the internal control statute, that any elected official can spend money once it's allocated any way they see fit. I would hope that in the budgeting process that those things would be put in place. I don't think that we should build straw men in the press for the benefit of the work that we're all doing. The idea that there's a quotation in the letter to the newspapers that says, "Not performing autopsies when they should be is not a practice we should embrace." And I don't think that there's a person who's proposed that. Of course, we would want to perform all the autopsies necessary. The only acceptable overages are the collective bargaining agreements and the statutory changes. I think that we have to avoid, again, hiring positions that don't exist in other coroners' offices around this area. A compliance officer where the purpose is, quote, to be sure that the rules are followed and that grants are obtained, but the rules are followed. That is our responsibility as the head of any of these offices or departments. The cost of the autopsies in the sheets that were given to one of the last meetings, autopsies was quoted at $1,000 to $2,000. I called the person who has, to his credit, having done 10,000 autopsies. Actually, it was too short of 10,000 autopsies. His fee is $825 for a full autopsy, and when there are externals only, it's half that price. And so $825 versus $1,000 to $2,000. The assumptions that undergird the composition of a budget need to be accurate. I believe that there should be a committee of the whole meeting where the definition of investigation, the investigatory role of a coroner, as opposed to what role police forces and the sheriff's department conduct, because I understand from what I've been told that if there's a difference, if there's an investigation that's done by a coroner and then the investigation that's done by the sheriff or the police department, if those two things are different, then a defense attorney in prosecuting a criminal action, it's big legal trouble. I don't think best form of management is for any of us to bounce from crisis to crisis. It should be calm, and I think that we ought to get our jobs done. I think that the board keeps its side of the compromise early and needs to remember and trust that the coroner will keep his promise in the years 2 or 3, and I'm confident and I trust that the coroner will do that. The final thing, the final item is just going through 4 pages real quickly. If you just flip through these 4 pages, when it's reported in a newspaper that someone is treated unfairly or differently from others, or that attention or help is not given, this is the series of the various steps in a log that were taken just from the financial officer's position. This is a lot has gone into this. There's been a lot of work that's gone in on both sides. So I believe that in order to move forward and approve these and increase, a significant increase in that allocation, I think that we ought to put in place some of these pieces. So, any other thoughts, comments? If not, Dr. Silva?
Chairman, I just want to publicly thank those of you who have worked on this, both in and outside of the coroner's office and the county board. I was not happy at all to read some of the comments that I came across in social media. I think we're working very hard to do our due diligence in Kane County and to represent our taxpayers as best we can. And I think we should, at least I'd like to extend an invitation to, if there's ever anything going on, please feel free to bring me into this, or just basically what I'm trying to say is let's open up the lines of communication, because I don't like the way this makes us look, and not only us, but more importantly, the people we represent. So I'm in agreement with what you've said today, and I would just really like to respectfully request that we work on our issues prior to bringing them into the national level. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Silva. I also would like to thank Ms. Allen and Ms. Sterrett, Ms. Wonicki, and other members of the board who have been involved in the process coming to this point. Any other thoughts? Mr. Heyman?
I didn't like all the articles that I had read in the paper. Thought it was a disservice to all of us here. Have we ever looked at contracting with hospitals, like Sherman Hospital? I know they've got big freezers, they can't be using it, and they could probably use the money. And a problem like this ever comes up again, where we can move people to them.
Okay. In the standing committees, I believe that that will be one of the responsibilities that the coroner will make the decision and hopefully reach out. Any other thoughts? Okay, thank you, Mr. Heyman. Ms. Wonicki?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just ask that all department heads and elected officials, if there is an emergency such as this that has come up, to please just call us or email us, just so that we're in the loop, because it's really difficult when you receive a call from a reporter and they have the information before we have the information. It just gives the impression of a lack of communication. So, I don't mean that directly towards you, Rob. Any elected official or any department head, we're here to help, and we're pretty easy to get along with, and so, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Wonicki. Mr. Hoshai?
Just a comment and a procedural point. My comment is that I'm pleased that both sides have worked a resolution of the issue. I think the resolution is a good one. If we approve this adjustment, this is an adjustment to fund the 2013 budget. It's anticipated that next month, the Finance Committee will bring forward a budget adjustment for 2014 to build in this change for 2014, so we don't have to rehash this discussion next month. That would be just a procedural matter.
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you, Mr. Hoshai. Any final thoughts, Mr. Smith?
I would hope in view of this matter that the coroner would develop a contingency plan. I know I spent 30 years with Cook County, and they did have a contingency plan in case things like this happened, and they weren't able to bring refrigerator trailers in a short period of time to take care of the problem. So I hope the coroner looks at that and decides to go forward with it.
Okay. Any other thoughts? If not, there's a motion and a second. Would the clerk call the roll?
Allen. Aye. Auger.
Yes.
Barrio.
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Donahue. Yes. Ford. Yes. Franz. Yes. Gilliam.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
O'Shea.
Yes.
Kazari.
Yes.
Lash.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Winnicki.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. And thank you to the coroner and to all the members of the board and our staffs for working through this. And again, in the end, the final person who put everything together with a lot of people's help is Mr. Cunningham. So thank you, Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Next on the agenda is Resolution 13-327. This is the amending the County Code, Chapter 2, Article 2, regarding the structure for appointments of Kane County executive employees. That was held over from the November meeting. Mr. Ford moved. Second, Mr. Franz. Any thoughts, comments? If not, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Auger.
Yes.
Barrio.
Yes.
Davis.
No.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Franz. Yes. Gilliam.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
O'Shea.
Yes.
Kazari.
Yes.
Lash.
Yes.
Lewis.
No.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Jeffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez. Yes. Winnicki.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. And by the way, thank you very much for the help on this. When I first heard about this and listened to the discussion, I thought, my gosh, how impossible. It's a hard function to bring on good staff members at the executive level. But the more it's been worked through the standing committee process and through the different board meetings, the more I think, hey, this is great because I get help, you know? So thank you very much for the spirit and the work that goes into it. Okay, next on the agenda are appointments. First of all, on the 2014 standing committee appointments, in the past, I know that the statute or the ordinance, I guess it'd be the ordinances, is that changes can be made to the structure of how we do our work annually. However, I believe that the practice, the tradition has been that basically it's over a 2-year period. Because I think that we have so much on our plate right now, there will be a couple of minor adjustments to accommodate different changes in people's lives as we go forward. I'm happy to accommodate what people want to do, but they're not like dramatic, big changes to leadership. So if you don't mind, I'm going to defer this to a future meeting. So we'll go through the adjustments. If you have anything in your lives or in what you want to do in serving on the board, just let me know. And we'll make those adjustments and bring it back here for ratification if that's even necessary. Oh, yes, the changes would need to be ratified or confirmed by the board. Okay, and then on appointments, Celeste, if you'd go ahead and pass out the packages. For the Fox Valley Park District, we have 6 appointments. there was a tremendous response to our advertising for people to serve their community. This is without financial compensation, and so I'm deeply grateful to the work that people do on this Park District Board. To give you the summary, by the way, the final 6, I wish that I had had maybe 12 or 15 of these positions because we could confidently fill all those individual spots. But I believe, and I know that many of us don't think in terms of Democrat, Republican. We think in, honest, competent people who come forward to do a job. But there are 3 Democrats and then 3 Republicans who are appointed to this board from Kane County, and then there's an appointee from DuPage County. So the 6 people are Aaron Anderson, Theodia Gillespie, who currently serves on the board, Cynthia Hernandez, Alex Alexandru, Gloria Bunce, and then Robert Vaughn are the 6 folks. And then you would have, for your records, the backgrounds of these folks. It is really, when you go through and consider what these folks have done in their lives, and then they are willing to come forward and serve their neighbors, it is really impressive, and I'm very grateful for their help. Any questions that I could help with? Mr. Vasquez?
Thank you, Chairman. Good group of people. The only question I have is on Bob Vaughn. Would that be a problem that he's getting a pension from the Park District and then serve on the board?
At first there were 2 previous executive directors from the Park District who applied for the position. And my first reaction was I was not going to consider him because of that, the possible concerns. However, after I talked with one of the 2 candidates, they pointed out, Chris, that compensation, that pension remains the same. This is a way for me to give back to the organization and to my constituents without additional financial compensation, and that way I can use my experience. And actually, I thought that was, because that experience is so important, I think that overrode the original concern, well, will there be a perception? I'm just so grateful that folks would take their time and their experience and bring it forward. So,
don't get me wrong, I do like Bob Vaughn a lot.
Of course.
But I just want to make sure that we did the proper vetting on this so we don't have a problem later.
Also, the question was asked and answered in the affirmative. Is Bob Vaughn eligible to serve with his responsibility with the Dunham Fund? And the answer is yes. Ms. Allen.
Ask what the territory is that the Fox Valley Park District serves, because I live in Elgin, and yet I get flyers from that organization inviting me to participate in their programs.
I think that you're probably receiving that flyer as a board member because of the role that we play then in confirming the leadership of that group. But I know it doesn't go up to Elgin. We can supply a map in the future.
If I may, I can kind of give her an area. It's North Aurora, all of Aurora, and Montgomery, in the southern part of the county.
Ms. Taylor.
Grove, too.
A little bit sugar. Yeah, I got those sugar.
With these 6 positions, and if I remember right from looking at it a while ago, that board, doesn't the terms expire at different times? They're staggered?
Actually, I thought that they were 4-year terms, but I think that there's been a request that we stagger them. And I would be happy to support the staggering of terms, but I think that right now they're 4-year terms, and these are up.
This is the whole board, all
Yes.
of them?
Well, it's the 6 that we need to appoint. So, Mr. Vasquez?
Yeah, no, I think I brought that concern up a while back, saying, hey, in previous years, it was always 3-year term, and then, they were staggered, so that we didn't completely get rid of an entire board. And I thought that, makes sense. You don't want to get rid of an entire board and lose some continuity that they might have or experience on that board all at one time. So maybe, in the future, we looking at staggering it somewhere along the line.
I'd be happy to support the effort. that the
Hopefully
Park
staggered.
District would bring forward. Ms. Barrero?
I would just like to clarify that currently there's 7 board members, and 1 is DuPage, and 6 are Kane County.
I would also like to thank the folks who helped on giving me their input, Ms. Barrero, Ms. Starrett, Mr. Fraz, and was Dr. Silva was our fourth. And I wrote down all of your recommendations as they came in. Thank you very much. I'd like to give like a special and honorable mention to 2 people in this process. I know that, you know, it's for some people it's stylish to be more cynical about stuff, but 2 people really stand out in this. One is Dan Barrero, Teresa's husband. Naturally, a highly qualified person, has served with distinction. I would have decided that, you know, I would have extended another term to Dan, but when I talked with him about it, he said that, you know, now that Teresa is serving on the county board, wanted to make sure that there were no appearances of that there could be any conflicts. And I appreciated that ethical behavior in action and the good example that Dan provides for the rest of it, and your whole family provides for the rest of us. And then secondly, the people, and we'll have a ceremony at a future board meeting to recognize the service of these volunteers, and we'll recognize them. But one of the people I'd like to pay special honorable mention to is Nancy Hopp, for her work on the Fox Valley Park District. She's just, anybody who knows her knows that she is just one of the most intelligent, decent people, and she's done just a wonderful job. So I appreciate the service that she's given in the past.
Previous county board member.
And was she a previous county board member? Candidate for county board, yes. Ms. Lesh?
Just kind of perusing through some of these as well. Commissioner Vasquez had mentioned perhaps a conflict of interest with one of the other candidates, and I would have to maybe ask the same with Ms. Gillespie, seeing that, you know, she's been a former Park District board member and also currently with the River Valley Workforce Development Board. And I know that a lot of her organizations that she might chair or be a board member of receives much of Kane County's grant funding from Riverboat. So would that, any of these be conflict of interest as well?
I believe that the Quad County, the Urban League, I believe that that hasn't been an issue for the last 4 years. I would assume if there's a question that could be a conflict, that she'd recuse herself from the vote.
Okay.
And I do appreciate the volunteer service without the financial. Okay, if any other thoughts, Ms. Gillum?
So Ms. Gillespie is the only reappointment then?
Yes.
Okay.
And Rachel Osira is the DuPage County, the current chairman, and she continues, I believe that she's been reappointed by DuPage County, so there will be those 2, and then Bob Vaughn has decades of service in the Park District.
Okay.
So there'd be 3 very experienced hands. Yes?
If we're voting on this, are we voting on all these appointments today, or are we going to
Yes.
vote individually one by one on each applicant, or they're boxed together?
Is there anybody, are there any of these? I would, let's see, I'd entertain, did I have a motion for?
Make a motion, we approve
Okay.
as a group.
As a group, I would do it as a group, but if there's anybody who you would want us to divide out of the question, we might as well make that in the initial motion. So would you want anybody to be taken out of the group motion?
Yeah, at the moment, I think I would. Just Ms. Gillespie, at this moment, from reading through some of the things, I'd like to have her polled separately.
Okay. Any others that anyone would like? Okay. If not, we have a motion by Mr. Vasquez to confirm 5, so the 6 less, and Ms. Gillespie will be taken separately. Is there a second? Mr. Donahue is second. So let's see. Any further discussion? Ms. Wonicky?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question, maybe Jesse could answer this. This Fox Valley Special Recreation, is that under this umbrella of the Fox Valley Park District? Or John knows? No?
No, I think that John could help if you want to.
I can explain. They're separate entity, but we do have the executive director from Fox Valley Park District. She'd like to come up and kind of discuss what they do.
Yeah, or John, I think, has the...
Well, I think the quick answer to the thing. Quick answer is
Fox Valley
special.
Special Rec is a group of park districts. St. Charles Park District participates in that as well.
So it's not under this umbrella?
Totally,
basically?
no.
It's a separate organization.
Very good, thank you. That's
Okay, good. If no other thoughts, I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Allen?
Aye.
Hunter?
Yes.
Barrero?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Donahue? Yes. Ford?
Voting on?
Thank you.
Yes, it is the 5 candidates confirmation: Aaron Anderson, Cynthia Hernandez, Alex Alexandru, Gloria Bunce, Bob Vaughn.
I'm just questioning why, that we should be actually voting on whether or not to take one person out or not.
The motion was made that way on the request of Ms. Lesh.
Okay.
And so the motion was made and then seconded. I respect the motion as it comes forward.
All right.
So we're voting on 5.
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Fries? Yes. Gillum?
Yes.
Heyman?
Yes.
O'Shea?
Yes.
Kazarick?
Yes.
Lash?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Pollock? Yes. Sheffro? Yes. Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Wonecki?
Yes.
Okay, and the motion passes. Now, could I have a motion to confirm Theodia Gillespie to the Fox Valley Park District? So moved by Dr. Silva, second by Mr. Pollock. Any thoughts, questions? Mr. Hoshea?
Mr. Chairman, this isn't relating to this specific issue, but I think it's important that we just understand as a board the importance of the Park District. We've got a great working relationship with them. Kane County is lucky to have some very strong park districts, and Fox Valley is one of the premier park districts in the state, and we've got strong working relationships with them, not just at the county, but also at the Forest Preserve District. So
certainly
I just want to thank them for that.
Thank you, Mr. Hoshea. Clerk will call the roll.
Allen?
Aye.
Auger?
Yes.
Barrio?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Donahue? Yes. Ford? Yes. Fries?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Heyman?
Yes.
O'Shea?
Yes.
Kazarick?
Yes.
Lash?
No.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina? Pollock? Yes. Sheffro?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Wonecki?
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you very much. We do have a need for executive session, so may I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel and settlement of claim matters? So moved by Mr. Fraz, second by Mr. Heyman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We'll go into executive session. So, let's see. Okay. So reconvening, the next action is Resolution 13397, settlement of claim number 11 WC 014938. May I have a motion to approve that? Moved by Ms. Auger, second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Allen? Auger?
Yes.
Barrio? Yes. Davis? Yes. Donahue? Yes. Ford? Yes. Fries? Yes. Williams?
Yes.
Heyman?
Yes.
O'Shea? Yes. Kazarick?
Yes.
Lash?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina? Pollock?
Yes.
Sheffro?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, and, okay, any speakers on non-agenda items? Okay, no. Then I believe that there is a gathering downstairs in the auditorium on the food bank, but it's Helping Hands for the county. I believe that there's been donations of nearly $8,000 to $10,000. So anybody who can spare the time, if you wouldn't mind going down to recognize what these folks have done. Then just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and then motion to adjourn. Mr. Heyman, second by Ms. Lesh. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it.